They were everywhere. August Mason sat tall in the saddle on top of his buckskin mare as dawn's silver light filtered over the horizon. His breath frosted on the morning air, but he knew the cool wouldn't last. By noon, he'd be shedding his slicker. It was almost June. He was the only rider in sight, alone out here, where no distractions meant he could hear himself think. And what he thought was the herd of buffalo that stretched as far as the eye could see was beautiful, but deadly. The enormous animals seemed peaceful enough as they grazed the long prairie grasses, but he'd heard stories of a mother buffalo stomping a dog to death when she had felt threatened. There were a lot of kids in the wagon train. He would tell Hollis that everyone needed to keep their distance from the buffalo. Hollis Tremblay, the wagon master, should be out here himself. August had been scouting with him since the start of their journey, but Hollis had been gravely injured when a recent tornado had destroyed several wagons from their train. The wagon master's terrible head injury had kept him flat on his back. The man couldn't sit a horse without the plague of dizzy spells and headaches. He'd asked August to be his eyes, scout the route ahead, and give daily reports on the best way to traverse the difficult terrain. But he had asked more than that. He'd asked August to be one of the captains, men appointed to leadership by the company, tasked with keeping the peace, settling disagreements between travelers, and setting the watch at night. August had declined. Their wagon train had left Independence, Missouri 6 weeks ago. By August's calculations, they were currently somewhere in the Nebraska territory. In these 6 weeks, he'd witnessed more altercations between travelers than he cared to think about. People were selfish and unkind, and the dangerous journey and monotonous conditions only seemed to magnify their natural faults. A lot of folks were scared, and scared people made bad decisions. He knew enough about making those kinds of decisions himself. Pushing away thoughts of the past, he rode out another 2 miles, urging his horse into a gallop that the buckskin gave him. Then he followed his sense of direction as he traversed a different trail, probably a deer track, faint through the woods. August was alert for any sign that something wasn't right. A broken twig could mean someone had traveled through here recently. He'd seen scat from coyotes, deer, buffalo, raccoon. No sign of bear or wolves in the past weeks, but they'd be entering bear country soon enough. He forded the river in a different spot than he had in the near dark just before dawn, dismounted, water streaming from his pants and slicker, and walked up and down the creek bed, attempting to judge whether a wagon wheel would get stuck in the rocky, sandy soil. He didn't much like the feeling that a company of over 200 souls was depending on him for their safety. As he came up out of the river bottom, he was afforded a glimpse of the circled wagons, their white canvas tops like a beacon amongst the greens and yellows of the prairie grasses. There was movement around camp. Men hitched oxen to the wagons or saddled up. Inside the ring of wagons, he knew women would be tending cook fires for breakfast or packing up their wagons, making preparations to leave.